Hey everybody, welcome back to the next edition. Believe it or not, this is our 15th episode of Kali Konversation. With me, Rick.
And me, Nain, which I didn't know we were counting, but apparently we are.
We are. There've been some really interesting stuff that's been going on. We have
It really is.
we have about 5 shows lined up with guests that are going to be coming in.
Yeah, various martial artists and even, did we confirm the boxer?
No, not yet, but I'm sure he's ready to go. He's really interesting. So this has become kind of a cool thing. You know, when we started this, we didn't expect it to even get to like episode 2.
I didn't even know we were starting something. You just showed up and said something.
It is just something that happened, and we said, "Hey, Nain, let's just talk about primarily for our class, so that they can, you know, have something to look at during the COVID."
And I wanted to actually point that I'll make it a bigger emphasis, because I know we mentioned it in our last episode. But this is really where our training has kind of evolved to. This is where we are, what Rick found to be necessary for me to get a deeper understanding of what it is that we do. The physical stuff, again, will come over time, but if you have the mentality behind it, well, then you can direct it. And I've heard other martial artists say it too, some Filipino martial artists saying drills, they don't like showing drills at the beginning of training. They want to get you to a certain mindset, and then once you get to a certain level up here, then they go back to drills, because now the drills have a purpose to develop.
They have meaning.
Exactly, to develop a skill set. It's like, okay, well, why would I step in? Slip a punch, or you're safer, all these other ideas that kind
pop up because of that idea.
And then you can
direct it. It's interesting that you're saying that, because even Danny, you know, always says, everything you do needs to have a purpose.
Right.
If you're just going in there to do whatever and you're hoping that it hits or makes contact or whatever, that's silly. If there's no purpose to it, you're just swinging. Right. You know, and I know a lot of fighters who did. I mean, these guys who do haymakers, they're hoping it connects, and if it connects, they're a hero.
Right.
You know, but if it doesn't,
I got the knockout.
Yeah, if it doesn't connect, now they're running and scrambling and trying to figure out, oh shit, now what do I do? I missed.
Right. Yeah. Then your whole idea goes out the window.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate how this has kind of evolved from that very small concept of, you know, how do we progress your learning? How do we progress your own understanding of what it is that you do, without necessarily having to go through these repetitive drills over and over again?
And mind you, know, I don't want people to think that you don't have to do those, because that is still essential.
Very important. Very important. Yeah, you have to do it.
Let's put a disclaimer about that.
Right.
We also will do, repetitious stuff. Now, is it repetitious in a drill fashion? Probably not. Not the way everybody sees it. We keep moving and moving and moving in flow, and it isn't always going to be the same exact thing. We try to catch each other off guard and try to hit each other. But that's almost what everybody calls pressure testing.
Right.
Where you don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to throw stuff at you, and you either need to defend against it or bypass it altogether and just go in and do what you're going to do.
And see what comes up. What can you, on the spot, create?
Right.
And even at home when I'm by myself sometimes, I'll pick up my sticks and I'll do my exercises. But as I'm doing my exercises, I'm thinking, okay, where am I driving power from? Okay, what's really out? Like, I'm breaking down my own mechanic to such a small degree that then I change one detail of how I'm standing, how I deliver. Like, okay, that gives me a different feel.
Right. Now, the other day, I put up a video on the Learning Lab, which is Dennis Duarte's thing, and you know, I'm glad that we have that little outlet that we can show stuff on and try to get ideas out.
Genius idea by Dennis.
I put up a video, and actually I didn't put it on that. I actually gave it to Dennis himself.
Oh, okay. Wait, did he tell you to put it on?
Not yet, but I'm sure he will after this. So the video was a video of me and Nain doing one of his classes recently, where we're going at each other with sticks, right? Single stick, live hand, and we're going. And I like to come in close.
Oh yeah.
I just love being inside. But I realized once I'm that close, I couldn't do anything with the sticks because I'm just too close.
It became a hindrance.
Yeah, it became a hindrance, and it became a useless thing in my hand. So of course, me, spur of the moment, as I came across and I passed your body, stick one to my armpit.
I came in,
He comes in real tight,
crashed everything.
and I back fist to his face. And
My nose, to be exact, because just you bringing up that story, my nose started hurting just from the memory of it.
But again, it wasn't that it was planned.
No,
Right?
no, it wasn't.
The idea wasn't that, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was a happenstance.
Yeah, it was one of like 4 or 5 volleys that we did,
Right.
and each one was different, and it just so happened that that one, we were so close that you had to adapt
Right.
to the stick being a hindrance.
But the mindset was, I want to hit this guy in front of me.
Right.
But I'd gotten so close, and I had a weapon in my hand, and my live hand was too far to do anything with you because we're jammed in.
Right.
So, did me putting the stick under my armpit, I'd swung, it went here, and I back fist. Now, we've always said that we're not married to the weapons.
No.
Or tools.
The tool.
Right? We're not married to the tools. So when I realized, I can't hit him because my hand is occupied, here,
There's sticks under your armpit, yeah.
I stuck it in the armpit, and I back fist.
Right.
And then I would have grabbed this back and continue whatever.
Yeah, that stopped
Now-
a lot of what I was thinking.
It wasn't because, I'm really slick and I can do this and I'm gonna blah blah blah.
Right, I trained this one thing.
And I've never trained that. This is the first time it happened only because of happenstance.
Right.
Just because of what popped up for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the opponent will not think you're gonna let go of your weapon. And I'm sure, right? Even though you know
It
I do.
was a shock,
Right.
to say the least. It was a
Yeah,
shock.
even though you know that I'm able to do that and that I don't,
Yeah.
that I'm not married to my stick.
Did not expect it.
And it just came out and you're like, boom, what the hell, right? So that's the thing, right? It's like, how do you go from one thing that you're working on and then you're trying to get in there and try to hit the guy in front of you, whether it's with a stick or just your hand, but something ties you up. We talked about point A to point B.
Oh, yeah.
In between, there's always some kind of roadblocks.
Right, right.
And how do you get around that?
A and B are constantly changing.
And A and B are constantly changing. So there is no real thing where you can say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z no matter what, because it just isn't going to happen. It's almost impossible that it's going to happen the way you think it will.
Oh, yeah, the actual, step-by-step scenario. But I think at the same time, there is a standard or something that has to be continuous.
Right.
And like you said, and I think we should touch on this a little more, your only thought was, hit the guy.
Right. And it didn't matter how it hit.
It didn't matter how. You went for what was available, what was best for you at that time, because again, we cultivate the idea that you always know where you are. You always have a sense of where are you in correspondence to your opponent.
Right.
And you had a clear idea of what you wanted to do. It wasn't a specific idea, I want to hit him with a back fist on his nose. I just want to hit him in a way that's going to be beneficial to me.
Right. Plain and simple, I'm just trying to hit my...
Because had you hit me in the shoulder, would that have been as effective? No. But you hit me right in the middle of the face, I dropped back, my hands dropped, and before the pain hit, I'm in shock. It's like, what happened?
Yeah. That was fun. But it made sense to just flow into whatever happened.
In that moment. And I believe that there are many practitioners who are doing some sort of free flow form or practice, and stuff pops out, something that comes out.
Yeah,
and
so they didn't even expect it.
They did not even expect
Because I didn't expect to do that.
And half the times our students don't catch those things either. Because I know I'm one of those students that I do something in the back of your head, you're like, I wonder if he knows he did that.
Right. Well, I will always try to tell you what I see. I'm like, hey, you did that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was really cool.
I think that because in talking with Dennis, and I even talked to Professor Bob Gomez.
Oh yeah, you talked to
who we had on here a couple of times. The last time.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, never married to the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You're in there, and if you have to let it go, let it go.
Right, if that's what's best for you.
And it's amazing how many people won't let go of that tool.
No, because I see a lot of like the videos on disarms and things like that, and it's all predicated on the idea that opponent is going to hold on to that weapon, hold on to that tool.
Right.
You grab the stick a certain way and it pulls out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with this hand. versus I've done that to you numerous times and your hand just flies out and hits me and I'm holding 2 sticks.
Well, it's a logical thing to do. Again, is that how do you train them, right?
And that was my next question. How do you cultivate that mentality so things like that happen more readily?
I think it isn't that I'm trying to get them to happen. I mean, that's what everybody else.
Right.
The thought process that I want to do X, Y, Z, and this is how I'm going to do it. But since I don't know what my opponent is going to do, because I can't know what he's doing,
Right,
we don't set up drills or choreograph anything when we play.
No,
right?
it's just
all of ours is all free flow. You do whatever you want, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And if we meet in the middle, cool. If not, somebody's going to get hurt. But we can't cultivate that.
Usually it's me who gets hurt.
We can't cultivate it that way.
No.
You know, the idea is that, going to the Legos analogy,
Right.
piece by piece.
Yeah, I'm throwing my pieces whichever way I can.
Yeah, so when I came out and I passed you, and I knew I was too close to bring the stick back because it would have got jammed up and you would have hit my elbow, blah, blah, blah.
And I think I had my hand somewhere in
it
this
was
area.
right here, and there was nothing I would be able to do with that,
Right.
with that stick in my hand.
Right.
It just wasn't going to work. The next best thing to do was grab the stick with my arm and hit the back fist. You can't cultivate that.
No.
It is something that just pops up that you have to understand you can do.
Okay, so and I guess that's kind of where I want to go to with my questioning on that is, how do you know that it's the best thing or something you could do in that instance, and how quickly can you get to that idea? Then it becomes effective. Because if you're too late on that, I'm already moving on to something else.
Right. Practice. Well, no, because I mean, realistically,
that's a cop out.
Yeah. That was a lazy answer. Okay, my bad. It's more about the idea that if I know that I'm trying to hit you, and if I have a tool in my hand and it becomes useless for that moment, the only way I can hit you is by letting go of that tool.
So is it more of the acceptance that it could be a hindrance?
Well, you have to understand that the tool is only as good as until it's not any good for you anymore.
Right.
I mean, if you're going in swinging sticks and you get so close that you can't swing the stick without it, now if you're right here to me, I swing that stick, it's behind you. Yeah. It's useless. It can't do anything. Even if it gets stuck in here, I'm useless. I can't do much with it. I need to let that go. Or if you're grabbing it or you happen to catch it while I'm coming through, if I don't let that go, I'm going to be pulled into you and I can have all kinds of problems. But you catch it, and now what happens is when you pull that, it's like tug of war. Mm-hmm. You fly back. I'm like, great, boom, and I can keep going in. But I have to understand, because the body mechanics, that will happen. When you pull a rope this way and the guy's pulling at the same time, you let go, he's going to fly.
Right.
All right, you got my stick, cool.
Fly away.
Let go and go. I mean,
so if you love it, let it go.
Yeah, you have to be willing to see where your fight takes you in that sense, right? Almost that, all right, I can't use this tool anymore. What else can I do? And everything is spurred of the moment. It's just boom, boom, boom.
Right. So you would say that that's more on the, I don't want to say the advanced version, but along the lines of considering a real life situation.
Everything we do at the Bladed Mind is considered a real life, right?
We're
combative.
But we're talking about the sense of learning it as a general to the public.
If I had to teach you that, we're talking about an advanced class, right? Because you can't teach that in that way, that you're saying, oh, there's a structured thing to teach this. Right. This is something that the students, because of the way we do teach, we talk about flow, we talk about mechanics, we talk about the possibilities and probabilities of what will go on in a fight.
Without limiting what
they are, and by saying, okay, since I don't know what my opponent is going to do, why would I write a script?
Right. And even when you're playing with sticks, you do have a live hand, so there is hitting, there is grabbing, there is pulling. Right. All of a sudden now, my free hand is no longer free. This hand, it is free. I can just let go. So then the thought then has to be almost an ambidextrous idea.
Right.
To say everything is available.
Yeah, and why limit yourself to what you think is oh, I have to do this because this is the way I was taught.
Right.
It should never be that. It should be, I should be able to do whatever I have to do.
Right, going back to the idea we were talking about last time about really what are you paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, if I notice that my hands are tied up, oh,
right,
I need to let go of something.
Yeah, Danny has that thing, if your hands are tied up,
use your feet. Right, and that's the next best thing, right? I mean, my hands are tied up.
Right.
I didn't want to use my feet because I could actually let go of what I had, so it was no longer tied up. Back fist, boom, right? It's hard to say how to teach that because it's one of those things that you can actually say, okay, today we're going to learn how to tuck the stick under your arm and back fist. I mean, that's just, that's nonsense.
Because then the first question would be like, when would you ever need that?
Right, and here it is, I needed it. Right? Again, a lot of the stuff that you're going to find in a regular street fight is happenstance. Even in a tournament, right? If you go to a tournament, you're there set up and you're both posturing and doing whatever you do, you still don't know what that guy's going to do.
Yeah.
And you have to act on whatever he does. Now, before you get there, because I said it first, and I said you have to act on. I didn't say you have to react to. Because as we know, there's a difference from reacting and acting on. When I see something, if I react to it, I'm probably going, too late. I've already been hit. But if I see something, boom, that's acting on, even before it even gets to where it's trying to go. By understanding that, that's what I did with you.
Yeah.
I just acted on my hands, boom, right? It's that kind of a thing that you have to learn. But how do you teach that? That is your question. And that isn't something that is in any manuals. You just have to understand that as you move along in your training, you're going to have to do some crazy stuff that you never even thought that you were going to have to do, let alone wanting to train it. It just doesn't, you just can't do that. You just have to be savvy enough in your own head to say, oh, I can do this instead. And for that to happen almost in a blink of an eye, without you missing the beat to be able to hit your opponent, then you've been practicing way too much.
You imagine training 8-9 hours a day
just to get that piece.
Just to get that piece. Yeah.
But that's ridiculous, though.
It is. I mean,
you just don't practice that way. You can't practice that way.
I have a 40-hour week at work. I have 2 kids that I take care of. I mean, I don't have the time to practice.
Now, the other part of that, on the other side, when I hit you in the face, I saw the fear gone.
Oh,
You're like, oh, shit.
Well, because there was this complete shock, I was like, we're playing with sticks. I know what I can do. He's tied up. I'm going to move in and do something. I had nothing specific in mind, but I knew I could move in, and I did.
Right.
And that's why we were that close, where you couldn't bring your stick out. And then I get popped in the nose out of nowhere, and I'm like, where did that come from? Not to mention the pain. Of course, you didn't hit me hard enough.
So here's the thing about that fear, because we had this class with Dion just the other day, and we're bringing this up because it really does affect how you're going to fight.
Yeah.
And if you don't, she asked me, "Are you ever afraid, or do you hate fear and stuff?" I said, "No, I welcome fear. I think fear is a great help
in the proper place.
In the proper place to what I'm doing, because if you're not fearful, that means you're oblivious to what's going on. But because of that fear, you become more attentive to what's going on. You see things so much clearer because you're like, oh shoot, that might hit me. That might hit me. Oh, that overhead might come get me.
Right.
Blah blah blah. So you kind of need that fear to kind of sit you in the right place of being aware of what's going on.
But in training, there are a few fears that kind of hinder you.
Right.
Which we proved with Dion, the fact that she was so scared of swinging hard because we showed her an example of us swinging hard and how comfortable we were. And then we just handed her the stick and she was already tensing up and shaking.
Shit, we're going to hit that hard? Holy crap.
Right. So in that instance, that fear in the class environment is a hindrance.
Right. And the thing that I always say to that is that when you're in your classroom, in your dojo, or the gym or wherever you're training out of, that's your safest place to be when you're learning how to fight.
You would hope so.
Because, you don't do anything in the classroom with malice.
Right.
Everything is with the idea that we're learning something. We're learning how to do techniques. We're learning how to do drills. We're learning whatever. And when you go into the sparring mode,
Right.
like most classes do, it's not with malice.
No.
You're
But
trying
the
to work your
adrenaline is
craft.
there.
You're trying to, but that heart rate goes, the adrenaline pops in, cortisol kind of starts going in.
How do you differentiate that? How do you